Many of us are trying to heal from what I call toxic productivity. There are so many people that I see in my mental health practice who are worn out and exhausted from chasing an imaginary moment in time when they're finally enough, because they got it all done. Well, what could be the matter with working so hard? After all, isn't work a wonderful virtue? Well, yeah, of course, work is great and it gets us a lot of things that we want, but it can also break us down physically and emotionally and spiritually if it's taken to an extreme. Toxic productivity is what I would consider doing too much, too fast, and too hard. It's ignoring the natural limits that we have in our body and our mental system. It is placing doing above being. And really, for our mental health, we do need to prioritize just being. What does it take to be a human being that feels good and healthy on this earth and not just a robot or a machine getting more and more and more done? So let's talk more about what is toxic productivity. Toxic productivity is being so focused on getting things done that you overlook your natural limits. You overlook your physical limits. So perhaps you're injuring yourself, straining yourself. You're overlooking relationships. You are so focused on getting things done that you plow past the people around you. You're not able to be sensitive or aware. You're not able to spend the time listening. Or if you do, then you put so much pressure on yourself that you have a migraine as you try to then get the things done that got pushed out of the way because of the time you had to spend on that relationship. Toxic productivity is also straining yourself emotionally, having that pressure build up inside your head, inside your body, as you try to go faster, 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 and it starts to just feel overwhelming at some point. I would say that there are roughly 3 things that we can do to help heal ourselves from toxic productivity. The first thing that we need to do is really become aware of whether this is the space that we're living in. Is this a problem for us? Do we push ourselves harder than our natural limits would allow? Are we going faster than is really wise for us? Some of the things that can cue us to whether we are going faster, faster, faster than doing more than we should is if we're using or over-consuming energy drinks, if we're not budgeting enough time for sleep, if we're not taking adequate time to plan and get appropriate meals, if our relationships are suffering because we're so busy. Those are some of the things that can show up. And also, if we're having health problems because we're neglecting some aspect of our health. And there are more. And of course, there's people in your life that if you ask for feedback, hey, do you think I overdo? Do you think I'm toxically productive? Then you'll usually have some people give you a little feedback if you want to ask for that. But if you want to work on this, if you think that it's maybe an issue for you, there are 3 things that you can do. First, you can really work on that awareness of how does the toxic productivity show up for you. You can ask yourself even a deeper psychological question of how did it even get there to begin with? How did this become part of you and who you are and your lifestyle? You can reflect back on the past and notice, were you complimented to an extreme when you were a child for working really hard or being super productive or very effective? Or did you have a parent that was sick or unavailable a lot, and so you had to carry extra of the load and you found that it became an identity? You can look into your past and be curious about that. It will help you to identify maybe where that came from. You can continue with your curiosity and your awareness by asking yourself how overdoing affects you in the here and now. How does it affect the people around you? How does it affect your relationship with yourself? What would be different if you could go at a pace that was realistic, at a pace that was comfortable, where you didn't feel like you had to hurry? What would it be like if you were able to, go to bed at the end of the day and feel proud of what you were able to get done, instead of always reminding yourself, oh, you should have done so much more? just this awareness is really important. Like, are you beating yourself up? So it's not only an awareness of like, where did it come from childhood wise? It's an awareness of how is it showing up now? What are its effects? If you're having, I would say, shaming dialogue with yourself, that is going to drain you emotionally. So that's something you can notice, is these voices in your head. You can also be curious about what triggers it. Is it being around other people that are high achievers? Does that kind of trigger a sense of competition or less than in you that kind of ignites this? Is it certain times of year? Is it, January, when you feel like you should be doing all these things? Kind of notice, is it something that happens when you have overscheduled because there's pressure from outside, maybe a parent or a spouse or someone that wants certain things of you, and so you're agreeing to take on more, and then you overschedule? Again, just be really curious about what triggers it. So you're not only curious about, again, where it came from as a child or how it's affecting you, but you're also curious about what triggers it, what makes it worse, and notice when that's really present for you. So the second thing you can do once you become more aware of where it came from and how it's affecting you and what kind of makes it worse, the next thing would be to start noticing your thoughts around this productivity, this intensity that you have to get more done. You can be curious about the dialogue in your head. Now, I want to pause and really zoom in on this, because most of us talk to ourselves throughout the day, and we don't really even notice what we're saying to ourselves, which is funny because we're there with ourselves all day. You would think we would totally log everything we're saying, but we don't. It's just a chatter in the back of our mind, and most of us don't register it particularly. But it still sinks in and gets to us. So we have some work to do if we're not sure what our dialogue is with ourselves. And so this awareness, noticing your thoughts, looks like when I'm feeling pressure, when I'm rushing, when I'm in that toxic productivity place, what am I saying to myself? What am I, saying to get myself to work harder? What are the messages that I'm saying? And some of those messages, if you're in a place of toxic productivity, are going to be things like, you have to work faster. You have to work harder. You're never enough. You've got to do more. If you don't work harder this afternoon, you're going to be behind. If you don't get this done, you'll get in trouble. If you don't get this other thing done, you're going to look bad. You're going to feel bad. If you don't get these things done, so-and-so will be disappointed. Or maybe it reflects on your character. You're not good enough in some way. So a lot of it's about reflecting bad on your character, that you're just kind of a bad person, or reflecting on other people's expectations. You're going to let them down, or you're not enough. And those kinds of messages be very clear on, because that's where a lot of that toxic pressure comes from, is trying to be perfect for outside expectations and also shaming yourself for being somehow not adequate. All right, so let's now talk about the third level of awareness that you can really work on with this toxic productivity. And that is noticing not just only your thoughts, and of course, as we talked about before, those things in your life that make it better and worse, that maybe, childhood or maybe pressures, but also this next part is noticing your physical experience, noticing your physical and emotional sensations around toxic productivity. What does your body feel like when you're in that pressure mode, when you're just trying to punch that list harder and go faster? You're going to have a certain fingerprint of symptoms within your body that will tell you when you're in that place of toxic productivity. For a lot of people, it feels like a pressure in the head, almost like a headache, but maybe not quite a headache, but just like an intense feeling of like extra blood in the head or pressure. For some, it can feel like a tightness in the throat, like a clenching around the throat. For some, it can feel a tightness in the chest, or a little nausea or churning in the stomach, or it could feel like tension in the shoulders or in the fists. Notice how it shows up for you, because this is the opposite of a good, kind, healthy, mindful feeling. It's a pressure-filled, intense, unhealthy feeling. So if you notice and kind of can index in your body when you're feeling that pressure, then you can be more aware every time you're in a place of pushing too hard. All right, so I want to take a little break partway through the video and just thank you for coming to my channel. My name's Shara Ogilvie, and I have been a therapist for 15 plus years, and I love to help people. And I've learned so much in my own journey of overcoming my own mental health challenges, going to school, helping other people through their mental health challenges. And I invite you to join my email list so that I can share some more things with you in the future. And if you want to get on that email list, just see the link in the description below. Now let's get back to some very specific solutions we can use to overcome toxic productivity. If you have determined that this is an issue for you, then I have 4 tips that can be helpful. And of course, if there are more tips that you have found useful, you can put them in the comments below. These are just 4 of my favorites. One of them would be to first set a time limit for how long you can work in any given day. Just because there are 24 hours in a day does not mean that, let's say you just need 5.5 for sleep, so then that leaves 18.5 for work. Just because technically you could work 18.5 hours does not mean you should work 18.5 hours. Really, our bodies are made for a rhythm of rest and work and recreation. And so a portion of that day should be devoted to work. And work, of course, it doesn't have to just be paid employment. It is anything that requires you to be kind of disciplined and have an intensity about it. So it could be going to the bank and checking emails and, mopping the kitchen and going to work. All those things would be in the work category. And my first suggestion would be to put a time limit on that. Maybe the time limit is 10 hours. Maybe it's 8.5 hours. If you're really ill, maybe it's 4 hours. If you're feeling well and you have a particular bunch that you need to do, maybe it's 12 hours. But you do need to limit it so that you don't work all the time. So that is my first suggestion. The next suggestion would be if you overdo one day, then you need to underdo another day. So for instance, say you have finals and you got to work a double shift all on the same day. I don't know. That's probably not realistic because I don't know how you'd work a double and do finals on the same day, but let's just say you have a ton you have to do. And so you end up really cranking it for 18 hours. You fall asleep exhausted with a phone in your hand and you barely get your 5.5 hours of sleep. Okay, so you overdid it that day. The next day you need to underdo. And so underdoing looks like not working that day so hard. But as a little parenthesis here, just because you're not going to work doesn't mean you sit and scroll your phone the whole time. You need to do good, healthy recreation or resting activities that really help you rejuvenate, which is another topic for another day. But to recap, this second suggestion is if you overdo one day, then underdo another, pretty much to make up for it, to create stasis, to create stability between your days. If it's not going to be equal on one day, at least among several days, it can have a sense of balance. All right, my third suggestion would be to make time to meditate daily so that you can learn to feel in your body what it actually feels like to be calm and mindful and peaceful. This is so important because if you remember back at the beginning of the video when I'm asking you, or earlier in the video when I'm asking you to notice what it feels like when you're in a place of toxic productivity, there's usually tension and pressure and an intensity in the body. It does not feel at peace. It does not feel like it can go at its own pace. It feels like it's never enough, right? So with meditating and mindfulness, that is how you learn to feel what it is like to be in the body without pressure, to be going at a pace that is very soothing, to be doing one thing at a time, to not have to rush. And so that is why I really recommend a daily meditation practice that helps you see and feel and sense very physically what it feels like to go at a healthy pace. And I do have a meditations playlist that I recommend. You can play around with that. But I absolutely recommend daily meditation to help you know what it even feels like to not be crazy busy. And I want to just throw out there that, maybe that seems silly that you would have to meditate to know the difference, but I will maintain that it is very, very unsilly. When I was a young adult, I did not know physically what it felt like to not be anxious and to not be overdoing. I did not know, and I didn't know that I didn't know. I had no idea what any of that even meant. It wasn't until I became a meditator for years that I started to realize, oh, this is what calm feels like. That's actually, wow, super different than how I used to feel. So if you don't know that that's even important, I would say try it, and then try it for a few months, and you'll notice that you actually feel different and you start to learn what calm feels like. And you'll change your opinion about whether meditating is a silly recommendation. You will probably be completely converted to it. All right, my last suggestion is to use time blocking on your calendar every day. And a time blocking system is where you actually take your calendar, whether it's paper or digital, and you block out sections of time. And so you would block out a section for work and a section for cleaning and a section for exercise and a section for napping and a section for shopping, whatever, but that you roughly block out sections of time where you can see visually that you have work and productivity as a portion of your day, but not all of the day. And that you have a portion of the day set aside to self-nurturing activities, things that help you feel your best, but they're not work. You can go at your own pace and they make you feel good. And this might be things like jogging or meditating or watching a funny show or journaling or sitting and quietly talking with a friend or cooking a new recipe or kicking a soccer ball at the park. It can be all kinds of things. It just can't be in that hit it hard and push it and be productive. It needs to be more of a Zen kind of feeling. So time blocking really helps you to see visually that you're not giving yourself completely to work. You're actually giving yourself to work and some recreation and some sleep. You want your basically to fit those three categories in. Of course, sleep, but then a balance between that recreation and that chill time versus the work time. All right, I hope that you have benefited from this. I would love to hear if you struggle with toxic productivity, what you maybe have done to help yourself, how you found that it was a difficulty for you, and anything else that you want to share. I would love to learn from you, and I will see you in the next video.